Dear Twin Flame souls out there, welcome to the Twin Flame Awakening Journey podcast, and today is an episode 159. In today's episode, I'm not alone, and I have a guest over here. And we're gonna dive into talking a little bit of the healing process of also the men and women, so-called divine feminine, divine masculine. But as we know, these energies are not based on our gender. But we will be diving into why men act differently if they get activated on this journey, why women have different experience, why do we run, why do we get scared of it? And also, of course, many of you who have joined the Patreons and our events have had an experience with our guests to experience light language. I don't know much about light language. I know that I like it when it happens during the activations. So today we dive into this as well at the end of the podcast to discover what is a light language, how it helps us, what is the healing modality of that. So I'm very happy to welcome here Nia today. And many of you know her from our Patreon when she has joined us, but welcome back.
Thank you so much, sister. I'm so happy to be here.
So today I'm going to put you in an uncomfortable situation and I want to know about it. What do you think about when we get activated with so-called Kundalini, with this life force energy? Why do we get scared, or why do we run, or why do we try to control this? What is your perspective of that?
Yes, and it is an uncomfortable, question because we have to be quite vulnerable to share. And I feel very safe here with you, and I'm always my authentic self. I can't be any other way. I feel it in my own body if I'm not speaking my truth as a light channel, and I hope that is the same for everyone. Because it means we're connected to the soul, the higher self, and the human as well in union. So yes, it is quite challenging, the Kundalini activation and awakening for anyone. It's just different levels, and I have had multiple Kundalini awakenings since I was in my 20s, through different practices and also just normal human experiences as well, because I don't believe a Kundalini awakening is just a divine spiritual experience. It's also a deeply embodied human experience, or it can be. And I'm just going to speak from my experience, but I think it is with any experience that is new or unknown, and it feels like we're the only one doing it or having this experience. It feels very frightening and overwhelming because it's unknown. And so our society is really based and built upon this foundation of safety. We're all the same. We do the same things. We follow a structure, pattern in this human life. We follow time and schedules. We follow rules and regulations, laws. And I don't think Kundalini, I've never seen Kundalini awakening in any of those. um, so, and then also when we try to, from the mind and the ego as well, trying to analyze it and gain a lot of information from that part of, because we want to control the situation, we want to direct it in some way. We want to feel safe, so it's coming from that vibration of fear. Then it gets even more uncomfortable because it can't be controlled. So the answer for me was also just to surrender to the process, surrender to my soul, my higher self, and a higher power. But I feel that this process was maybe easier for me because I chose to be in a female avatar, a woman's body in this lifetime. So I feel this can be a generalization, but women can find it a bit easier to relinquish control or surrender on some level, whereas those who have chosen a male avatar, a man's body. Again, I can't speak from my own experience there, but whenever I'm talking about men, I think about my husband and my children. I have 3 sons, and already as in sons and daughters, you can see a small, like slight differences in how they are responding to situations coming from that biological perspective of hormones and just how the different bodies are, physical bodies are. So I think men have a harder time to let go, to relinquish control, also coming from the mind more. And this is part of the society we live in, which is a more patriarchal society. And it's built in that way that men follow this logical path and fit in. I believe that the patriarchal system isn't beneficial for either men or women, but um, that's just my opinion. So I feel that that's maybe the basis. And so if a man is, it's even more challenging from the beginning for him to surrender to his own higher self, soul, higher power. Then of course the fear of the unknown and losing control is going to be higher. So it might manifest in running from it, running from the situation, running from another person who is involved or has ignited the situation. And I definitely have had that experience with my twin soul.
Exactly, of talking here, because I am a very much of, in a certain ways, I'm passionate about inviting men into a space of healing, getting comfortable with this energy, because I can see the resistance in them. And as they are more logical, and it obviously is, I cannot use the word harder, but I am a believer that if we, because I see it a lot, and it's not that but I see it as often a female space. There's a lot of women together, all of this, which is wonderful. But for the men, it feels a little bit, oh, it's a bit of a woohoo thing. And I want to talk about one of the video later, where we talk about, so just to remind me this part of it as well. But now my idea is, as you are seeing it as well, even in my world right now, it's about 95% are women who are stepping into that, and 5% are men. And it really, the men are very careful to come forward, very careful to open themselves up. But what I see from there is they're holding their potential back. They're holding who they can really be, because of the ego, or the fear is so enormous over there. But while they are already activated, so they are making the journey for themselves 10 times harder than it could be, at least from my perspective. I know I was very logical as well, very much in the masculine energy. So if someone would have walked up to me with all of this, what I'm talking today and what we are sharing here, 5 years ago, I would have said, well, this lady needs some help. It doesn't make any sense. What energy? What are these things? Let's say we will talk about the body shaking and all that. Like, what is this? This is a nonsense. It's not real. You have to get up. You have to have a structure. You have to do things. Otherwise, nothing will happen in your life. It doesn't mean I wasn't intuitive. I was always intuitive in my life, but still the logical part of me was stronger there, until, of course, I got activated and I had no idea. So how do you see it from the perspective of engaging more men into the healing? What would be the approach, or how do you see that they come forward? Because I see that its shift is happening, but they are just more careful.
Yes, and thank you for sharing your experience. And it's very multi-layered question. And I have tried many different models as a facilitator. And as you know, I like to collaborate, and I have also collaborated with many male facilitators, and I still do. And with that comes, I need to have a lot of trust in the male facilitator, not just that I trust him, but that I trust that he has pure intentions when he's holding space. Because as you said, most of the participants are women. So as a woman, I want to make sure that other women are safe. Of course, I know that they're safe when they're coming to me and I'm holding space. But if I'm holding space with a man, and there are many amazing male facilitators, I feel a sense of responsibility. I think you understand. Um, And so there's two layers. With the male, there's the spirit, the one that you, like you have said, who has awakened and is on the spiritual path. And sometimes we meet these men, and it's almost like a relief. Wow, a spiritual man, or an awakened man, or a conscious man. It's very refreshing, and we can feel like it's almost like we get overly excited as a woman because they're rare, like you said. I mean, your 5% even seems like quite a high number. Whether they're coming, to your session and to receive, or whether they are, just in the space also as a facilitator in whatever modality. It doesn't have to be a Kundalini activation facilitator, but there are many, many men who are awake. But just because they're awake doesn't mean we're at the same level of consciousness or openness as you have said, and I shared some of the reasons why earlier. But we can, as women, because we're so excited and we naturally have an open heart, and we can almost like forget about this, and almost like because they are a little bit behind. And I think this is part of the design, like the women are awakening a little bit faster, or a bit more open to it. And I think this is part of the design if we're talking about the twin flame, twin soul design, because the women are, so I'm really talking now about men and women, even though we both have these, we all have these energies, masculine and feminine within us. But the women, sisters, they are, we're supposed to heal with our hearts, our open hearts, and the heart is activated. And it is this frequency of love then that we hold, which can also be amplified when we meet our twin soul, or another high level soul connection, like a soulmate, and that can even be our children. And this love then ignites an awakening process in a man. And because of the reasons I talked about, it can be a slower process. So that is why I think there are less men in these spaces, and that it is a slower awakening, because I think it's part of the design. And then in this process, because we are in this process together, none of us are awakening just alone. We're awakening in union, but also as a collective. We have keys and codes for one another. You have a lot of lessons for me, and I have wisdom for you. So then I feel that when we, for example, when something ends, we've had an amazing experience, or not such an amazing experience, and then it ends, this illusion of separation, because we are always connected in the heart field, as soulmates or as twin souls. This illusion of separation, and it is an illusion, but it's also a valid human experience. We may not be seeing this person, or they may have finished with us on Snapchat, and we actually have no idea where they are, and it's designed this way to ignite all of this trauma that we have, pain, limiting beliefs from this and other incarnations, to stop looking outwards, and to stop chasing, and to bring back her awareness to herself, and to come back into wholeness, like to remember that she is completely whole, without even without that masculine, that man present, without the twin soul right here in her everyday life, so that she is aware of any distortions within her. So the woman ignites through her love, and probably her Kundalini energy that's awakened, and the masculine then ignites her, often through a separation or some kind of traumatic action, so that she remembers to come back to her own divine masculine within, and bring it into balance. So for me, how that you shared about your experience, that you were very much in your masculine energy, and I was actually the opposite. I was really in my feminine energy and really enjoying that feminine flow my whole life, being very creative and just walking the beauty way, and making 5 babies, and just having a really beautiful flowy life, but actually not acknowledging my own divine masculine. I was often looking to my husband for the answers, for support, even if I was financially independent. I was often still asking my husband for permission, even though he never told me I needed it. He's a very liberal, Scandinavian man. I didn't understand or trust my own divine masculine within to hold structure, to make decisions, to take aligned action, to direct me. So after with my own twin soul journey, this is what ignited, and I noticed it activates even further with subsequent relationships, when I've met another soulmate, for example, and I've just had this experience with a man, that I allowed myself again to rely on this man. And it was a professional relationship. I allowed myself to rely on him in providing the structures, or handling the finances of our business together and our projects, and not allowing my own inner masculine, divine masculine, to guide. And so it's like always a beautiful awareness of myself, and these interactions with between men and women especially are very important. So that's why I believe in brothers and sisters sharing sacred space together. And I've tried many different formats, just sisters. I have a sisters circle for activations. I've held activations for 6 months where the participants were just men. Me and a sister held space. And that was also incredibly awakening for us all. And then I've held space with me and a masculine, and the participants were mixed, but mainly women, as they often are. And I believe that it's actually, there's a lot happening energetically in these spaces, a lot of harmonization between our own divine masculine and feminine when we are in these spaces together. But I also think it's extremely healing to do the work separately as men and women too. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Here it's just, yeah, I was just, when you were talking, there's a one thing where I go on the opposite side of I'm a believer, or I see that we are very alienating each other from the male and the female space. And I grew up with a lot of men in my life, like boys. I had a lot of mainly my friends were male, and I never felt anything romantic, neither did they towards me. It was a very strong foundation. And until today, they are my best friends. We don't have anything in a sense of, there was never a thing of crossing over. But what I meant is, in a sense of where I see the opposite is, I find it's very beautiful, because in some ways the propaganda and a lot of things that are out there, in a sense of that, I know the females are becoming more independent, which is beautiful. I am an extremely independent woman. I'm not the favor for men at all, because I would not listen what they would tell me, where to go, what to do. I know I'm like, I will do this way. And I always respect my husband for that. I always do. The fact that he is able to be next to a very independent woman who does whatever she wants to do. And of course, at the same time, that's where my feminine part will lack. But of course, thanks to this activation, and that's why I always said I've been very grateful and thankful to my husband a lot for the fact that he can be next to an independent woman, while the independent woman needs, in a sense of surrendering to feminine. But what I wanted to say is that for me, it's beautiful to see when a man and a woman come to, let's say, to the healing space, And it's more from I feel it is more for the men. Maybe it's just my perspective and way I've seen it. But we do not communicate as well because we are different. Men are very different than women are. And when they are put in the situation where they see what are the issues or what are the fears or what are the things that a female is afraid of, and same for a man, because men are afraid of also of things. They are not emotionless. It's not like they are not afraid of anything. But we don't see that part because often what happens when we come to the relationships, we come to a relationship because I like you, you like me, we are great together, and we move on from there very quickly, but we don't really get to know each other from step by step. And then what happens is that we also don't see these parts because when I meet you first time, I have a mask on. I'm going to be a very different person that I am on because I'm not going to reveal my whole self for you within 5 minutes. And I believe most of us are doing this. And then we go into the relationship with that mask. And then what starts to happen, the mask starts to fall apart. And that, especially when you get activated, your soul comes through. When I went through all of this madness over here with this twin flame awakening, I sat down with my husband and I said to him, don't look for that old person. Don't look for it because it doesn't exist. It was one of that masks that was there. And I know you're familiar. I know who it is, but it's not here anymore. So you can go and think as much as you wish. Where is that person? It's not here. And either you're going to fall in love with this version of me right now, or you let go of it. But there is no more of that mask. And I see this on the healings a lot of when men and women sitting face to each other, or they do exercises on the retreats and things like I see, it really opens up for them to understand that, wow, I need to go deeper. That masks what I first fall in love with, whether it's my twin, whether it's my soulmate, whether it's my ex, my colleague, however it is there, is not only that surface level. And then comes this deeper part. And that's why, for me, when we talk about why the twin flame runner, and it's often a male, there are females too. I'm not going to say there aren't. I was also runner in certain ways. Because we don't go, it's scary to go deep because then the masks will fall apart and we hold the mask, whether we like it or we don't, it's there.
I love what you shared, and thank you for sharing. And it's so beautiful when you share about you and your husband as well, because I think it's so important that people understand and know that, you know, when we're in a long-term relationship or marriage as well, we are wearing many masks, you know, and we don't even know that we're wearing masks. We're not always aware. And of the masks that we're wearing, and like you said, it's falling off. And I believe there are so many masks. It's one mask over another, and if we've been married a long time, we start to really go quite deep with that. Like and then it's accelerated with an activation and awakening. Then it's like, you know, 12 masks came off at the same time, and and the, you know, the man might not be at the same level of demasking. So yeah, it is. And I think it's a lot to do with yeah, of course, fear of being seen, and fear of seeing and accepting the self. Like, okay, I actually quite liked that old mask that I was wearing, and now it's just fallen off. I don't know where it went, can't put it back on. And you said that, you know, the men are often the runners, and yeah, I can feel myself in this last situation with a man. I was the runner, because I felt that as my masks were falling off over a year more, because we have so many, that this person didn't like me, like or just liked me sometimes, because we can also put masks back on.
Yeah, totally, definitely. And I think that's where now comes in as well. I think many of us who are listening, they're wondering, you know, and I've said that many times, that in reality, when we talk about, at least that's my perspective, and I'm curious to know yours. But, you know, we are here on this podcast. I know a lot of people are here from waiting their twin to wake up, to come to them, to be all of that. But then my question is always, but at what cost? Meaning of, will you accept them? And will you change yourself to be somebody else to fit into that moment just because of that pain of separation is so hard? Or are you willing to stay in your element, in your magnetism of knowing I am exactly like this? Not that I have to choose which words I'm going to say, how I'm going to do it. And I remember doing that because I was afraid. I was extremely afraid that if I will not do certain things, I lose my twin again in my life. And there was a fear. And I hear that also often on this journey where people say, but what if I send a message? What if I say these things? What? And they go away. Well, then they go away. Then they were never meant to, on that moment, to be there. But if they stay with you and they see your light and they want to be there, they stay. My twin is in my life now every day. Are we together? I know many of you are waiting for that, always about to hear that part of me. And I haven't shared that, which stages we are, how it is, what it is there. Because it's, like I said, I don't want to put my perspective on anybody. I just would like to bring different truths, different ways of seeing that when you have now this person in your life, it does not mean, like for me at least, I don't know how you see it, but for me, it's at least from the perspective, if this person is coming back to your life, whether it's a twin flame soulmate, I don't know, whichever label we want to use, but comes from the fact that they see you as you, but not that you need to feel, I need to change myself. Or how do you see that?
Yes, and well, I agree completely with you. And for me, it's also another part that I keep my circle very small, like who is actually in my life in the physical, because I have 5 kids. I have a beautiful relationship with my husband. For the last 20 years, it's a very harmonious relationship, and this is something I really value, like harmony, peace. I do believe we can grow and expand and still have peace. It doesn't always have to be, growth and expansion through pain, suffering, and a lot of turmoil. So for me, peace is very important. And so I do keep my close circle very small, and that includes, like my twin. My twin, my twin soul is it ignites so much love, and I know that we are always connected with our twin,
Yeah.
and I know this because I've been practicing this long before I met my twin. I practiced this art of loving another person, another human, another soul, when they're not present, because two of my soulmates, three of my soulmates, one is my mother, and one is my father, and one is my spirit baby. And my mother, I was estranged from her for most of my adult life. She chose a very strict religious path, and a monastic lifestyle, which involved like no contact with her children once we were adults. So I practiced the art of loving my mother in the heart space, never seeing her or even having any contact. She didn't have a phone. And the same with my dad. When my dad passed away 11 years ago, actually at the same time as my son was born. It's his birthday today. No coincidence, I'm sure, that we decided to do this today. But this is when I really mastered the art of loving someone across dimensions, across space, time, because I could also receiving, because it started with receiving. I could feel his love, and I thought I was an atheist. I thought he just disappeared. So it was like it was quite a big awakening for me, to be able to feel and receive my dad's love. And then the next part, I mentioned 3 soulmates, loving at a distance, and the final one is my spirit baby. So my sixth baby chose not to come. And so, but I still could feel his love. Um, it was a very strong, stronger than the others. So I really believe this is our practice here as humans to master, and at least try it by practicing, the art of loving without any expectations, and also without the physical expressions or even physical evidence that he's not here, that that baby didn't come, that my mum is in, I don't know where she is, and that we still can expand in love. And I believe this is very applicable to the twin soul journey.
I totally agree. And I have the same vision in a sense of belief. I know that when we talk of a death in general, I don't say that this should be a happy moment and we would feel like, yay, what a wonderful thing that a person passed away and I don't need to feel. There's a grief. Of course, there's a grief and all of this. But I am a believer, losing my father also in a very young age. And it's funny how children see it. They see it very differently than adult. I would say that losing someone in your adult life, and that's why I believe why the relationships are harder also when we are older, and letting go of somebody is harder because we are more maybe conditioned, or we have some kind of a understanding, like that the program is there. Because as a child of losing my own father, I never felt that time that I lost somebody. I never understood that why people feel that somebody is gone. I didn't understand this. And again, how the child is processing. The child is processing this differently. But until today, I see it, him as my, as exact, I always say he's here. I can ask anything and I will receive it. And that's why I'm a believer also when I met, I hold the Kundalini experience, because that's where the psychic experience becomes very strong. And it became even more and more. And that's why I thought I'm absolutely crazy. I need some, they will put me in a mental hospital because I can see things, I can feel things which are not directly next to me. And like I said before, if someone, I would have listened, if I reverse, I go back in time right now, and I send this podcast to myself, to this old self of mine, I would say, no, 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 no. This is insane. A very good story, great, but I don't think so. And that actually brings me to the one thing that until we haven't tried something, we would think of this is nonsense. This doesn't make any sense. Me, number one, who was like that. This is not real. This is not happening. I remember my husband, because he's Hindu. So he was telling to me about the Hindu gods when we first met. And who was the one who was making fun of them? Me. Oh yeah, bring your Ganesh. Yeah, bring this. And I was just, I couldn't, because he was telling what we like, how it's alive and how some of the spirits are living in. This is absolutely nonsense what he's talking, but here we go. Who is the one now who is worshipping in that sense Shiva, and Ganesh is in my life and all of that? Well, the life has its own way. And that actually brings me to one thing that I saw another day, and I want to talk about it. I had a bit of a in my own heart. It's a very hard topic, certain ways, but there was which I agree, and I want to know your perspective of the Kundalini, because we are facilitating the energy of Kundalini, and I want to see of your perspective from that part, because a lot of people are afraid of it. And then there was this video from an Indian guy was making a video, and I agree with certain things over there, so I will go through it step by step now. So he was commenting that, oh, now all of these white people believe that they are activating some Kundalini from other people, and was bringing in the videos what are out there about the Kundalini, where people shake or scream or make different movements and all these kind of things. And he was commenting about it, that now these people think that they are activating something inside of someone. And I could feel the bitterness in that sense of there, that I don't believe that he has ever come to any activations in his lifetime. So it's very easy to look something and go like, these white people or whoever, doesn't matter, don't know what they're doing, and they believe in something. And because of, yes, there is a nervous system. We know that the nervous system will start acting on it. And in a sense of your body can start shaking and all of that. But that's not, in my perspective, is not the idea of Kundalini. And that's why I'm also very careful of ever sharing a lot of, because for me, what Kundalini is a life force energy, meaning of your potential, you, who you really are, can open up to the realms that are amazing. At least that happened to me. I'm not going to ask anybody to believe that, but I have seen how the world has become one within me. I'm one within universe. So now I would like to know your perspective from this, that let's say when it comes to all of this promoting the Kundalini activations, and do we activate it somehow? How do you see it, and is it dangerous, and is it something we are woohoo we are making up? You have been on this field for a very long time, so I want to just know your perspective. What do you believe? What have you seen? And let's say again, coming back to the fact that do we activate that, or what is actually happening?
Thank you for this question. And I think it's always really important to come back to the heart when we are talking about these topics, because it's also about other people. And so we're not coming from a sense of judgment, and we're acknowledging, okay, this person is making a judgment. And so I always ask myself a question whenever I'm sharing something. So whenever I'm sharing, a Kundalini activation, like I filmed it always with consent, and sharing it like on social media. Why am I sharing? What is my intention? And I always I try to remind myself to align with the divine intention. Is this for the highest good to share this? And then if it's a yes, then I share it. And it's always a yes, because I'm always trying to live with integrity to myself. So when I share a video, it's because when I first watched a video on Instagram, I saw here in Sweden, CAP was very, very popular, and now it's called LFA, and I co-facilitate with many LFA facilitators here in Sweden. And but the first video I saw of this energy was a CAP facilitator, a very well-known one. Doing an activation. It was a male facilitator holding space for a woman, and I saw her moving and responding to the energy. And most importantly, I felt the energy, because we can of course feel the energy in a video. And the energy activated me as well. And I had a very strong experience. And at that time, I was only really having those experiences with myself. I would self-activate. So for me, this idea that somebody else can hold space for me and that woman, because it was a video, and I could have this experience, was incredible, because it's the feminine art of Kundalini activation, which is receiving, perhaps lying down and somebody else holding space and you receiving. And for me, this is the feminine art of surrender, feminine art of receiving. It's very tantric practice, and I follow the tantric path, so of course it resonated. So that was the beginning. And so when I share a video, it's with that same intention. Maybe it ignites this in somebody, and maybe they feel inclined to explore it. It doesn't have to be with me. Maybe they look for someone in their own area. Like this video was based in Mexico, and of course I don't live in Mexico. So I looked for a facilitator in my area, and I had to travel 6 hours to Stockholm to find one. And that's how it started. So that's why I share. And then you asked about it being dangerous, or if we're even activating anything. And I and I really believe that's why we can't explain it. It's we can't convince someone. It either resonates or it doesn't. And if it's a strong yes, for example, they watched a video, they resonated with me, they feel like they trust me, then maybe they would come and try it. That's the whole point. We have to experience something, and we have to experience a Kundalini activation to know our own experience. And like, as you know, as a facilitator, we never know what's going to happen when we're holding space, or if we go and receive. And I really believe it's important for facilitators and space holders to receive as well.
Yes.
So we get that perspective, and we make sure we're aligned. Am I still okay with the feminine art of receiving?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but I
I
absolutely don't think it's dangerous. Uh, it's but if you go in and think it's going to be dangerous, maybe it will be dangerous. I do believe we can manifest these things, so
yeah.
that's why it's important as a facilitator to be aligned, to maintain their own energy and their energetic hygiene practices,
Yeah.
have good, strong boundaries and a strong belief in themselves, and that we invite the participants when they come to me or to another, that the participant is well informed. And the most important information is that they've checked in with their heart.
Right.
Is this a yes from my heart and my body to go to this session today?
Exactly. I love what you just said is the receiving, because also on this twin flame path, one of the biggest obstacle of why things are not going to so-called happen is because you don't know how to receive. Again, I was one of them. I didn't know how to receive. I knew how to give. I knew how to make myself empty. But when it came to receiving, I was afraid of this because I felt guilt around receiving it. And that goes around everything. It starts from the micro level to the macro level, meaning of whether I don't know how to receive, compliment, or in a macro level from the universe wants to give me a gift, but I'm not, no, I don't even know how to receive that. So the universe will never send me anything because it feels, well, you don't know how to receive it. And that's what I find the power of Kundalini. And I could say, you said as exactly the art of learning to receive, because when you learn to receive, the universe starts to give you, and everybody else starts to give you. And it's not a coincidence. Many who are on our groups and everything have seen that they start receiving more compliments. They start getting more, let's say, abundance in their life in any kind of way, whether it's with more friendships, more money, more opportunities, more love, however it is. And another thing, what I loved what you said is the heart. It has to come from the place of heart and connected to the heart. I'm the person who doesn't really talk about in apart from my podcasts, which are filled with that. But if you meet me on everyday life, I don't talk about it. And I'm a believer. If you are ready for it, you will find me. And if you're not ready for it, nothing will ever happen. It's like I'm a ghost in this world for you because I'm not in the same universe with you. But if you're ready, it's going to happen. You're going to meet me. We're going to see each other. I spend 90% of my time in my house. I go a little bit outside, but not too much. And these people, when they meet me, say to me, I don't know why I met you. And I said, that's, you don't know, but your soul knows. Your soul knows why you just met me and why it had to happen. Me, I don't plan. There is no plan in my life. And it's just the soul that is guiding us. And I'm a believer in the same way on that space. It has to come from the heart. And there is no, because heart is like we started from the beginning. It is a one that generates this energy, which goes outside it. And of course, the facilitator needs to know how to receive, how to keep the energetic space. But I just everyone who is listening, I'm going to tell you that in a sense of when you are ready, and you might not know when you're ready, the soul knows when to put you in a situation, but it's the best thing that can happen to you. And that's why meeting your twin flame who got activated from the twin flame is the best thing that could happen ever, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, I completely agree as well with there's nothing like the twin flame activation. And for me, it was such a huge activation of the heart. Me and my twins, when we experienced it differently, for me, it was, I was already had a very open heart, very loving. I'd already had 5 babies. Each baby, cracks your heart open. Um, and, and, I didn't have any restrictions either. I know I'm free to love. I'm free to explore. I'm free to express love. Um, but I had never experienced this kind of love, that I just loved this man, like, unconditionally. And it was also no fears, because this man went away and came back a lot. With his work, he was a digital nomad. He still is a digital nomad. So it was a real practice for me of being able to let go and just trust in this, like you said, not having any plans and trusting the heart. And this was my lesson with him. And for him, he experienced a huge heart awakening as well. Also, a Kundalini activation, a huge Kundalini awakening, because I had already experienced multiple Kundalini awakenings. It was his turn. So he experienced a really dramatic Kundalini awakening, and how that manifested for him was in the sexual energy activation and acceptance of himself and his expression, and also this very beautiful self-awareness that happens when we merge with our higher consciousness. So he started to have more clarity about his life and how to take more aligned actions for his life. So I think it's the twin soul awakening and an experience is so powerful, and we can really only just have gratitude for it if we've experienced it, and to trust even if we're in separation. Like I don't see my twin soul, and I haven't for the last 2 years, but the universe keeps bumping us together, like just for a couple of hours in extremely strange places in other countries sometimes. So it's always just an expression of love from the divine, like the higher power showing us that everything is being orchestrated for us in beautiful ways. If we want to surrender to it, we can, and just see how everything unfolds. And we can also have another path of conscious co-creation with the divine, and we can dance between the two as well, I believe. And this has been my path for the past 3 or 4 years of dancing between the two, and letting things unfold and being in the feminine of surrendering to the divine plan, and then also sometimes being more in my divine masculine and making some requests. Well, I would like to have this, and this year, and the divine gives that to me, and if I'm open to receive, I will. And this practice of receiving gifts has been really a huge lesson for me, being able to receive the divine gifts and also how they express in humans. So I was talking to you about this soulmate, the most recent one that I am running from now, and the running can also be in a practice of setting boundaries, just having boundaries that I've said no now to contact. But one of the beautiful gifts that I learned in this experience, which is almost a year, was being able to receive physical gifts. And this is an expression of love as humans, between humans. And I discovered this self-awareness about, my human self, that, I'm really struggle with receiving a human gift, like him buying me a present or giving me helping me carrying my bags. I found this really difficult.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's always gifts, always self-awareness from every
Mhm.
human, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. And yeah, and everybody who comes to our life is somehow a gift. And I would also say, in that sense, even if it's a negative experience, so called, it's still a gift, as you get to experience and get to know yourself in a certain ways that otherwise you wouldn't have. And the more we show the gratitude and we let go of it, the universe has its own way of balancing this out. And like you mentioned before as well, in a sense of the judgment, exactly that. It's very easy, even I know on this twin flame journey, it's very easy to judge. Or overall, it's very easy to say, this is not real, this is not what's happening, it's very easy. And also it's easy to, when you have a previous knowledge about something and go, this will not happen. Or if you tried once time and it's very easy to judge. But I find it's much harder to erase everything that you know and just go like as a blank page and be like, well, let's see what the world is going to bring me. Even though, let's say you had a negative experience with something, but you turn this into gratitude, and you see it from the different lens, because it's then you're able to make a shift and bring a new energy into. So it's somehow everything is a gift that comes to us, but in a different format. And as I know many of you have listened, and I have never really shared, and we keep that all in the future because we have so much to come from here. But a lot of people, in a sense of, have come on my way who are trying to do something. Well, I always let them, because I'm like, you do you, go ahead. It's beautiful. It's a gift for me to see where I can improve, where I can change, where I can have more trust, where I can see the world differently. But we are going into, let's go into the light language now a little bit, because talking exactly what is working. Because I loved one of our listener, and she comes very often, and she comes now, she was here in Cyprus retreat as well. A light language, I don't know much about it, and that's why I'm excited to hear, how did that get activated inside of you, what it is, and what it so-called, again, I'm sure we don't have the answer what it exactly does, because it's about feeling it and surrendering and trusting it. But if you can walk a little bit through, because one of my soul, I really liked what she said. She remember the first time you came to our session, she was like, what was this? That I didn't get it. I didn't understand what was the point of it. And then she did the second time, and it all activated inside of her. And she was like, I never had such a strong, intense feeling of something. She said, wow. And that's what I loved about it. That I was like, the first time we were like, oh, what is this thing? Like, because we can see it also on social media, like coming back to the social media where, people practice their light language, or they put this out there, and you look at them and you'll be like, who are these crazy people? From which freaking planet they are from? And you might judge and you might laugh about it or whatever is there. But then I believe that if you go over that judgment and you go into that, because me, I really enjoy now when I've been on the sessions of yours, that it's something interesting. Is like, it's certain way different. I'm not saying I don't know how to explain that. I don't have a vocabulary. Again, I'm going to say you need to experience it to understand it. So walk me through a little bit of the light language and our audience over here.
Yes. Yes, so light language is the language of light, and I focus on spoken light language because we as humans, we communicate through speech. And that's our main communication. Like, we talk to each other with our voice, and actually our voice has a very powerful vibration, not just for ourselves. As we can alter our own state, our own auric field with our sound if we're chanting, singing, and with light language. And we can also affect another. So we do this with our children. Like, we use a soft voice to help them relax or send them to sleep. We sing to our babies. Maybe we would never sing to anyone else. It's very intimate how we speak to people. So this is why I focus on spoken light language, because it, like you said, some people have no idea what it is, and they might laugh, or they might be scared, or I even had one person think that we're doing it to get attention. So the judgments can be on all levels, and it's really good for me to hear the judgments, because I don't have those judgments, of course. When I hear someone or see someone doing light language, I know what they're doing exactly. So it's good for me to hear the judgments, so that I'm aware of where people are at their levels of consciousness, and all of it is okay. So it's when we're speaking light language, it's very powerful because it's coming from the soul. Another word for light language is the soul language. It's the way that the soul is expressing through sound. and it's a specific frequency of the soul. And we can go even deeper. It's because the soul is, I believe, multidimensional at different levels of consciousness in different dimensions. And so we can also say that if you're hearing light language, for example, my light language, it's the frequency of my higher self. It's my higher self communicating through sound. So that means it's very powerful, because the higher self knows how to get your attention on a subconscious level, but also an energetic level. That's why a lot of people have a strong reaction, because it's a high frequency. The higher self is at a higher frequency, a higher level of a higher dimension. And there's also divine intelligence with the higher self, the divine self, also known as the superconscious. I'm using all the words here in case whatever resonates with whoever's listening to this. And some people are very science-based and want the evidence. Some people are more accepting of the esoteric and the spiritual and the energy. So with light language, more importantly than how it looks, how it sounds, actually is how it feels. How does it make you feel? Where do I experience it in my body? Physical sensations, emotion, and of course energy. A lot of passion, and they hear light language, they see a lot in the third eye. A lot of people experience it as sacred geometry, light visions, similar to if they were in a plant medicine ceremony, or they often describe it, I saw the same thing happened, or I saw the same thing when I was in an ayahuasca ceremony, or so it can also be a way of DMT release in that area. With light language, it's about vibration, so it's going very deep, and it amplifies whatever else we're doing. So if we're in a Kundalini activation session, it amplifies the Kundalini activation process. Also, the most important part about light language is, we are more than, we're not just the higher self. I'm here, Naomi, with all my limiting beliefs, my ego, and my fears. So that whenever we're in any interaction, it's a complex being here that's interacting with your complex being. And in certain spaces, like when we're holding space, for example, in a Kundalini activation session, we actually would prefer that the space holder is coming from her highest level of consciousness, because she's holding space. So she doesn't really want her own ego to be in the space interfering. The facilitators using light language in their activation, Kundalini activations, and when we speak light language, then we know we're connected to the soul and the higher self and higher levels of consciousness, because it's not coming from the mind, it's completely channeled through the higher self. And this is the specific activation as well that I offer. It's a multi-dimensional soul codex activation when I activate someone's light language. So it's not just about speaking light language, it's about where it's coming from, that it's coming first from the higher self and the higher aspects of you. And then maybe you can speak light language from a tree, or the light language for a baby, or the light language of the ocean, because everything has its own communication and frequency. We can communicate, and everything is always communicating with us in this field. And of course, we can channel source intelligence as well, God consciousness, divine mother, divine father, with light language, whatever we choose. So I hope that answers your question. It's
Yeah,
very difficult.
definitely. As we are obviously coming a little closer to closing today's journey, and because we have definitely, enough will again be our last time, but just for someone who is listening. So now two things I'm going to challenge you. Number one would be what are the benefits for someone to receive light language session or coming to it, or what are the benefits? Like, again, there's no direct answer, I know, for it, but in general, what you have seen in your audience, in your people, what are the benefits for them from there, and benefits for you when it all got activated?
Yes, well, since I've spoken light language, and it's been since 2019, um, it's a strong connection to the higher self and my soul. It means that I don't have to do a lot of other practices. I used to do, an hour of Kundalini yoga. I used to meditate for 1 hour every morning because I grew up with Vipassana meditation. I had a whole list of practices that would help me feel aligned and connected to my soul. And I still do these practices, just I don't need to do them as often or as long. I can just speak the language of light and then in like 10, 15 seconds, I know I am connected to my soul or my I am presence in every moment. So an easy answer is it's very convenient. I'm already speaking all day in English and Swedish. Why not also in light language? And it helps me stay connected to my I am presence. That's my choice, that I want to be merged with my I am presence, my higher consciousness, as much as possible, because I believe I am a calmer, more aligned mother to my children when I am in this highest consciousness and can interact with them in that way. And also with my husband, I believe it's beneficial for us both if I'm not coming from my ego, and I'm coming more from this higher consciousness. It helps me to keep my heart open. It helps me if I'm feeling anxious about anything, like if I'm going on a trip and there's a lot of things to plan. It helps me with these more human experiences that I can't control. Flights and schedules and other people's schedule. Light language helps me feel centered. Then if we're talking about as a facilitator, and I have had many students do my training, and I've activated hundreds of people's spoken light language. They all report feeling more empowered. They just feel more confident because it's their soul voice and they're following it. They feel more trust in their actions, their decisions. And it's obviously not just a light language activation, it's a throat chakra activation. So you can tell who has, they have they really like to share their voice. And maybe they don't like to, because I told you earlier, I get nervous before things like this podcasts. I was really nervous last time. And I absolutely don't love to speak on a stage in front of 50 people, but I can still push myself and speak and share my truth in a much more empowered way than say 5 years ago when it's also a belief. I know that I have something to share and I will do it even if it's uncomfortable. This is part of the activation. We are more activated in our soul mission. The soul codex activation helps you know and identify your soul mission, that you're here to serve. You have something important to share. We all do. You're here to love. And it's a reminder every time I speak light language and every time I hear someone else speak light language. So I believe in the future we will all be speaking light language as just an additional way of communicating with one another. It's not no one's saying English is bad or Spanish is bad. It's just another way of communicating at a different level of consciousness, and I can activate it very quickly in everyone. Have 100% success rate.
So when we're gonna end today's podcast, so I will challenge you to speak a little bit of a light language over here for everyone who is listening, and let's see what's gonna happen to them. So you're free to go.
Well, that's not a challenge, Birgit. This is my favorite thing to do, share light language, because I just love to share the code. So light language is always received only with your permission, with your consent. So if you want to receive light language, you can say telepathic yes. And I always bring through codes with the intention of codes of harmony and peace, that they are codes of alignment, and that you will feel and receive whatever it is that you need in this moment. And it's directed by your higher self. Your higher self is like a guard and decides if it is for your highest good or not. This is how I work with it. I am very much respecting your sovereignty, and I also request that others respect my sovereignty. So if you'd like to receive, I invite you to open your heart. Codes are received through the heart space, not the mind. Take a deep breath and just notice how you feel. And because we are talking a lot about the twin soul journey, I'm going to invite the Twin Council of Light, who support all twins, to just share some codes as well. Naraira nara siria kayara tira na warinya siaya. Eriera nara kura maya shira na tir asiera naya. Kura mara naru turia tarat anat ikot ashir terania rakia sira na wet anatiaya. Kura mara naturia na kura nataya. Samarara kutura na atetetera. Komara siara nia kura shiara na yaraya. Kuria na kiria na suera kia shiana aya. Istiara ka air it irikia na air. Ambara na tair anatair. Ramara na siara na weshiaya. Et era surya na kiria na a. Tenarea kura na siaya. And taking a deep breath. And just observing how you feel. Any shifts. Any thoughts, any emotions, any sensations, any visions, any downloads, and all is perfect. Thank you for receiving.
Thank you, Nia. Thank you so much for being here today. Everyone who listened today, you can find Nia on Instagram under Stellar Wellness, I believe. I will also add all of the links below. Do you have a website or something else where also people could contact you, or how?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel and I have a podcast too, which is all light language. So I will share that with you. And anyone who has any questions is always welcome to contact me, coming from the heart. And I'm always happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Yes, all of the links will be below, so whoever felt resonated or have more questions, I believe it will not be the last one, as I already had so many topics that were coming up during this time, but we keep them for the future, so your questions, your comments are more than welcome. I'll just go quickly through of our program, what we have. As we know, we meet on Patreon for our session, and I just want to anyone who is a part of the Patreon, remember that in December, you get to choose what kind of session you would like to redo or what you would like to practice again. So make sure to think about that. Then about our retreats, yes, unfortunately, or fortunately, both ways, Bali is sold out, but we'll have Italy. So do not give up. Do not be sad. We'll meet you over there. And if any one of you would like to connect with me or with Naomi, or however you feel, whoever is connected to your heart. You find me on twinflameawakeningjourney.com, and I'll see you soon over here. So lots of love and lots of light, and thank you, Nia.
Thank you so much for everything you do. I absolutely love being part of your sessions as well, so I'm really grateful for the invitations when I can come and co-facilitate, and I also love when you come to my sessions to receive, because I love to support my sisters as well. So I just want to thank you from my heart. I truly appreciate you as a sister.
Thank you. And thank you everyone who is listening. Your presence is more than beautiful over here, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Water crashing at my feet. I saw a blue horizon turning gray. I was wandering, looking for a key. Echoes of your love surrounding me. Listen, I've searched high and low, almost gave up, let it go. I should have been standing here alone, but here we are. This moment together like heaven. I'm in awe when I'm with you. I've chosen. You're the one I've waited for, and forever I will promise my heart to you. Ooh. Yeah. Beauty shining in your eyes, all eternity there in your smile. Yeah. And these pearly gates they can't deny all the majesty you have inside. Oh, I thought I would never find you. This moment together like heaven. I'm in awe when I'm with you. I've chosen. You're the one I've waited for, and forever I will promise my heart to you, to you, yeah. And with each step we will climb every mountain high. In the shadows we will find all the joy that's deep inside. On every road, every time I'll be by your side. Not a question how I feel. Can't believe that this is real. This moment together like heaven. I'm in awe when I'm with you. I've chosen. You're the one I've waited for, and forever I will promise my heart to you. This moment together like heaven. I'm in awe when I'm with you. I've chosen. You're the one I've waited for, Listen, I've searched high and low, almost gave up, let it go. I should have been standing here alone, but here we